So we're here this morning with Todd Livingston at Pierremont Title, and I want to ask Todd a few questions about the buyers that are looking to buy. What exactly can they expect when they, hire somebody like yourself and they come to the closing table?
I can kind of go through the process. Obviously, you on the front end are working with the client. You're identifying property. You negotiate contracts. Basically, once the contract is signed, that's where I come into play. The contract comes to me. At that point, I'm going to order the abstract, which is the history of the property. I'm going to verify that, obviously whoever says they're selling it really does own it and really can sell it to your potential buyer. We do a thorough search of the abstract. I have attorneys that work for me that examine the title. From that point, we coordinate everything between your lender, unless you're paying cash, your insurance company, and all the other third parties that are involved. Once everything is ready to go, typically in today's climate, we're waiting on a lender to get the money right. But as soon as that's ready, we all will come to my office. Usually it's going to be the buyer, the seller, the agents, sometimes the banker, sometimes the insurance company. We'll sit down at my table. We're going to sign, for the buyer who's borrowing money, they're going to sign about 55 times.
Wow.
Yeah. The seller's not that bad. Seller just signs maybe 8 or 10 times. They're not borrowing money, so they're just selling the property. From that point, we'll get all documents that have been signed recorded. We record the deed where it actually transfers the property, from the seller to the buyer. We'll record the mortgage, obviously, and then we will issue title policies. Louisiana is actually one of the last states where, when it comes to title insurance, you have a choice between a lender's policy or an owner's policy. Okay. Most states, and when I say most states, like 48 of the 50, have basically changed it to where there's one policy. The difference between a lender's policy and an owner's policy is this. A bank's loaning money, they will not loan money without a lender's policy. They have to be protected. The collateral that's been mortgaged could be foreclosed on, and the only thing the lender's concerned about is if that potential borrower cannot continue to pay, they have to have a guarantee that nothing gets in their way to foreclose on the property.
Okay.
Now, the owner's policy protects the buyer from everything else. There's a list of things, and as we get this process closer to the end, we go over this. There's potential for fraud. There's potential for just errors. And the difference in Louisiana is you have no choice if you're borrowing money on the lender's policy. The owner's policy, because it's issued at the same time, you're only paying the incremental difference between the two. I always recommend it. I always recommend it to anyone I talk to, friends, family, or just clients. Personally, I would not buy anything, whether it was a $2 property or a $2 million property, without title insurance, just because you never know.
Exactly.
It's just like any kind of other insurance. I have life insurance, and I don't want to die, but I have life insurance. So it's a just in case. And when you're talking about buying a house, it's typically the largest asset you have. So, you would beat yourself, to death if you got down the road and you didn't spend a couple $300 to get that owner's policy and something was wrong.
Exactly.
What my partner and I always say about an owner's policy is it protects you from everything we can't see. All we can do is examine the public record. Okay. Again, if there was fraud or if there was an error, a number of things that we can't see, that's what it protects you for.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. It sure does. So when they come to the closing, Todd, how much time can they expect to spend here in order to, get everything closed up so that they can buy their new property?
Well, that's kind of relative. Again, in today's climate, it kind of comes back to the lender.
Okay.
If everything is done a day or two early, and it's basically sitting on my table,
right,
there's no reason we can't get through it in 30 minutes.
Okay.
All these horror stories of 2-hour closings, not going to happen here unless there's sometimes There could be an error in the package, names misspelled, an amount's wrong, a number of things to where you would have to basically start over at closing.
Right.
That's rare. That's rare. But in general, personally, I don't think it should last more than 30 minutes. I'm a firm believer, and this goes against the grain of some older people in the industry, will just say.
Right.
I don't think a closing experience needs to be like a funeral.
Exactly.
I think it should be. Everybody should be happy.
Right.
It's a huge deal for everyone. To 30 minutes.
Okay, well, perfect. Well, listen, Todd, if somebody, the buyer's watching this right now and they're having some questions, maybe trying to understand what you just told them, what would be the best way for them to talk to you and get in contact with you?
Probably the best way is by email. My email address is Todd, T-O-D-D, Bossier, B-O-S-S-I-E-R, at PierremontTitle.com, and that's PIERREMONTTITLE.com. My phone number, 318-741-9130, is also a way to get me, but in the interim, probably an email, and we can go back and forth if we need to set an appointment. Great. If we need to have a 5-minute conversation on a phone, great. But I am available, basically all the time.
Well, great. Well, Todd, thanks for spending some time with us, helping educate our buyers about exactly what they can expect whenever they come to the closing table. And again, it's Jonathan Newton with RE/MAX Advantage. So call us if you have any questions. You can reach us at area code 318-212-6700 and make it a great day.
Thanks.